but how do we tear this down and really look at it with fresh eyes, right? There's so many different opportunities.
Can you give me my iPad?
Sure.
Because iPad is an interesting example of how it's causing everything to be re-imaged. Yeah, you're right, and you play with the calendar, it's pretty boring. And same thing with a lot of the newsfeed guys, and then this company,
exactly.
This company called Flipboard comes out and totally transforms what I think a Twitter feed looks like.
Yeah.
Let it just find some news, and now it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And you use your hand to touch it, and that's very different than using a mouse. Everybody's like, why can't they do this on Windows? It's like, because Windows has a mouse.
Right.
This is touch. This
is sure.
I mean, you can even drag it slowly.
Yeah.
And it's something about it is sensual. It's touch.
Mm-hmm.
And you just page through it, and it's design. Just by applying some design principles to something that already exists,
absolutely.
It totally transforms it. It totally changes it. So.
Agreed.
I mean, it's the same information I've always been looking at.
That's
TweetDeck or Seesmic or Twitter.com. This doesn't look like Twitter.com.
Sure.
No.
But you can even go to the original pages, articles, and see how ugly it is. It's like you leave beautiful land and then go to ugly land.
And what's cool is you can see what other people are saying about that article as well, which is interesting.
Are you using it as primary source now? I mean, I saw you pull up Twitter.
I don't even read anything else. I mean, that's Twitter.com. You know how ugly it is?
Yeah.
It's like, give me a break, And I think that's one challenge for you guys is the same thing. It's like, how do you take a fresh eye to it and come up with something that's
a new
touch?
design?
Mm-hmm.
You click on it, it zooms, and it has pictures, and it has interactivity,
Absolutely.
and it has beauty to it, and I miss that. I want my Tungle calendar to have the same kind of utility on iPad or on the Android devices.
The other thing that we're looking at, I mean, we've talked about a couple of things, but kind of coming back to your post, so we've got all of these information silos out there that are about you, whether it be your Yelp preferences or your movie preferences, your reading preferences. The difference between where the calendar is now and where we think it should be going is that the calendar of the future should really learn your preferences, understand what it is that you do. And the net of that, the information flowing in, is that we have a tremendous amount of data about your interests, who you are, where you spend your time. And so it's not just about the data coming in, but then ultimately the calendar should be able to provide you with insight. Right? So we've got all this data, we're running algorithms behind it. You should be able to peg your goals. I want this amount of family time, this amount of travel time. Right? So these are the goals I have in terms of the way I spend my time. We're now looking at, the actuals, and we're measuring the difference, and we're able to say, listen, for you to be most optimized in terms of the way you spend your time, these are the kind of things that you have to do.
Yeah. I'd like to even go a little simpler than that. Google Calendar and Tungle knows where I'm going to be for each appointment. So, like, right now it knows I'm here because I put in Tungle is at my house, or I can even put an address in there, right? And if I'm in Palo Alto this afternoon at the TechCrunch thing this evening and in the afternoon. And so why would it let somebody from San Francisco put anything on my calendar? Because I'm going to be between Half Moon Bay and Palo Alto, and it knows that. And there's a couple hours. I'm not going to go to San Francisco in that couple hours.
Agreed.
So if you guys can figure out an algorithm and say, hey, that's not really an appropriate time because you're in Sausalito or some other place in the world, and he's going to be in Palo Alto and San Francisco, or in Half Moon Bay and Palo Alto, and we know that he's going to be between those two places, and you want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
We find another day that he's going to be in San, because there's other days where I am in San Francisco, and it would be like, oh, it's only 15-minute drive from that other appointment, and I often schedule things and then look at it and go, oh, I was really stupid for accepting that, and then I have to delete it or renegotiate. It's like I can't really do it on that day. I have to move you to this other day because I'm going to be in San Francisco this other day. And then he's like, oh, I'm out of the country that day. You know, it's like, oh man, now we have to get back into the renegotiation phase. And it's almost easier to go on the phone and say, okay, just call me up.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
Well, there's some intelligence that we're looking to build in fairly quickly. So location really being the key, right? The calendar should know that this is your location. This is where you need to be. Add automatic buffers onto your meetings, right? Because just because the meeting ends at 2:00 doesn't mean you can accept at 2:10, right? And kind of getting that sort of proactive data into the calendar. And the same thing goes, we had meetings with NavTech to talk about, location data also, points of interest and this kind of thing. And the calendar should know that there's traffic and that what would normally be a 20-minute drive today is going to be 45 minutes, right? And prompt you to leave early. And bring feeds in that are going to help you be more productive and more efficient.
Yeah, the other thing, and I have a weird job, so it's going to be hard to translate this to other people, but I go around the world and interview tech people, right? Mm-hmm. And I find I can do 2, maybe 3 interviews. If I'm doing 3 every day,
right,
I'm burned out.
Right.
It's too much. So the way I solve that is to just cut down the number of hours that I'm available. But that's stupid because sometimes that second interview can only happen at night.
Right.
So now I have to, somebody's like, your calendar's booked for the next 3 weeks because I blocked it all off. You know? And now how do I get on there for tomorrow night?
Right.
Because I have something, like Saturday night, I'm actually interviewing somebody because they have an extraordinary iPad app coming out. And it's like, okay, I want to see this. I don't want to wait 5 months to see it. And so I stick them in there, but I had to do that manually and off the Tungle Me grid.
Right.
It'd be nice to say, is this an interview or is this a sushi dinner?
These are the types of meetings that I'm willing to break the rules for. Right.
Well, that's one thing, but the other thing is, hey, I've already filled up my two interviews for the day,
right.
So I don't want to. I can't do any more, but I want to keep the day open for other kinds of things.
Right.
This kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, this isn't really an interview.
So you could send people to one page if it's interviews and another page for social stuff, but then if it gets booked there, it's no longer there for people to be able to pick from. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So have different types of likes or profiles or
right, or I can block out. Yeah, or even I can block out. And for PR people, I can block out a certain kind of time slot. And for my wife, she gets different.
Yeah,
right.
It's
that makes sense.
Because she's allowed to book me, but it's hard to do that simply. And the iPad Apple's teaching us if you have too many features and you put too much crap on the calendar, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
You lose any beauty that you're going to have.
That makes sense.
And then everybody's like, I'm not going to use that. It's too complicated.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting challenge you guys face.
Well,
how do we fit more features that solve these weird use cases,
but keep it simple and intuitive? And
how do you make it so that everybody goes, man, that's cool.
One thing that we played with is that you could you put in your CC or BCC, the name of an assistant, like call it Betty at Tungle or whatever, and so you're replying to the person saying, okay, I'd be willing to meet with you. How about we set up some time between Friday and Saturday in the evening or something, so you can actually textualize it or whatever. Yeah. And what happens is Tungle can interpret what you do and actually send the invitation out with the proposed time based on your knowledge of your calendar, and then the person can just pick a time within the parameters that you did. So you didn't have to change any of your habit. You just added someone in the CC or BCC, which is actually a robot kind of thing.
Yeah. The other way to look at this whole thing is to do a mind shift. I interviewed Siri. You guys have seen Siri, right?
Sure.
On the iPhone.
Yeah.
Got bought by Apple.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing that's going to be the core of a future iPhone, right? And Google's doing the same thing.
It's an AI play, though.
It's not AI, but you talk to it. It understands your language, or you could poke at it and choose things from a menu. But really, the cool thing is you talk to it. You say, "I need a taxi tonight at 8 p.m. to pick me up here at the house," and it understands it. So, and you see that it understood your language, and then it uses artificial intelligence to understand what was he really trying to do, and,
right.
And he pulls out the keywords and the key concepts of what I was asking for. And then it goes to web services. And right now it doesn't have very many web services. It adds 40 or 50. But it brings back information like, hey, this taxi company can pick you up at 8 p.m. Here's the confirmation number, and here's the taxi driver's phone number. So if
and it knows houses, this address, right?
You're bridging two very important concepts that keep coming up for us, which is the idea that there's a shortage of time. You never have enough time, and there's too much information.
And we're using mobile phone. We're using these less and less, and mobile more and more. Sure. And I hear that from every entrepreneur. I interviewed OpenTable, and they said the mobile usage is just because people are out mountain biking or something, and they have this brain fart. Hey, let's go to dinner tonight, and so they poke at an app on their iPhone, or they talk to Siri and say, find me a restaurant, and boom, oh yeah, these 3 restaurants have space tonight, you know, and it makes that reservation right from the cell phone.
Sure.
Spa Finder, if you want a spa treatment, or the spa at the Ritz out here has a Spa Finder system that manages their spa, and it has a calendar.
Awesome. Right.
It's really interesting. OpenTable is a calendar, and Spa Finder is a calendar. It's their interface in front of them. It's like, oh yeah, we have slots at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning for you to come in. Well, it's a web service, so Siri could talk to it and say, hey, this guy wants a spa treatment in the morning tomorrow morning. Can you find me a slot there? And it it negotiates back and forth, and then it goes, oh yeah, we found one at 8. Let's pull that out and make a reservation. And that's something that doesn't look like when you're talking to Siri, it ain't looking like a calendar. It doesn't look like that grid.
Although our data set, I would imagine, would be very important for Siri, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so imagine a world where instead of 40 web services or so that Siri is right now talking to, like Fandango, OpenTable, a taxi web service, pizza web service, stuff like that. What if it was all Apple applications, all 250,000 of them automatically build an API that Siri can talk to and negotiate with? Then what happens to our world when we can talk to an iPhone and have it negotiate with everything in the world? Can you change my flight on Trip? And it knows, oh, he's on TripIt because he has the TripIt app. Let's look at TripIt. Oh yeah, we found the flight. Let's go to United.com. We know his frequent flyer mile because he has United Airlines app. And boom, all of a sudden you create a magical experience, and
it falls all the way down the funnel, right? So you make this change with TripIt, and now we see you've moved your flight, and now you got to start moving meetings, you got to start moving your car service, and so all of that that reshuffling has to happen dynamically.
Yeah. But we may be too close to the glass, right? So, but the question that we're asking ourselves is the calendar the hub for all of this?
Well, it sure seems like it,
right?
Because the spa salon has a calendar. That's a hub. The restaurant Citrella has OpenTable down the street, and that's a hub, and that's a calendar.
Right.
And what else is going to be a calendar? I'm going to have my Google Calendar or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever I find that's cool. Or you guys might take over the world there.
We're trying.
We will.
Yeah.
And Plancast knows where I'm going.
Yeah.
Plancast already knows all the events I'm going to in the next year.
Yeah.
Foursquare knows where you are.
Yeah, Foursquare knows where you are. Which isn't quite a calendar, but it could be shoving stuff onto a calendar interface.
Our thinking about the Foursquare data is it's also it's data that would drive a predictive engine, right?
Yeah.
Or a suggestive engine. So you bring in your Foursquare feed into the calendar. It now knows where you're checking in over the past 30, 60, 90 days.
Yeah.
Then when you need that restaurant suggestion for a lunch meeting, very likely that the Foursquare data will know where the best bet is, right?
Yeah.
Where you should be.
Yeah, and I just started mountain biking, and I have Cycle Meter, I think is the app I use on my iPhone. I'm trying out a bunch of different ones, but it's a calendar. It's a map and a calendar with a bunch of information about how fast I was going.
Really?
Right.
Oh, it's great. And you
so
can share it on Facebook.
Yeah,
it's so interesting because it, while you're riding, because it tells Facebook, Scoble just started a ride, right? And then it goes to Facebook, and my friends comment on Facebook and say, "Oh, great job, Scoble, you're exercising finally." And reads those
Oh, no.
those comments
Come
to
on.
me
While you're on
in
your
my
bike.
ear while I'm on my bike.
Come on, for real.
For real.
Wow.
And
That's
you
funny.
know, and it's making a map so every 5 minutes they get to see how far I've gotten. You know, and they
Right.
can urge me on. You know, go further, man.
That's awesome.
Don't puss out yet. You know?
Right.
You know,
That is cool.
it's cool. And so when you add mobile and location and everything, it changes.